Hello, my name is Dr. Andy Ashworth. I'm making this video to help you to understand and deal with your own anxiety or anger. Many people feel these things and really don't know how to cope with them. So what I'd like to do is show you what's happening, why you feel like this, and then show you how to use the power of your own brain to actually make you feel better. First, I'd like to show you the life's game of snakes and ladders. On this model, you'll see that when bad things happen, we go shooting down the snakes. And we end up in a place where we feel panicky and disorientated. We're very aware of the threat, and we seek to orientate ourselves to that threat. We then get clarity about the threat, and that takes us up to a place where we feel like a victim. And typically a victim feels fear and or anger. Now when we feel those things and we feel like a victim, it's quite attractive to feel confused. The problem is that although the snake of confusion may be attractive, it's still poisonous and will take us down to feeling panicky again. And so often we go round that cycle, round and round, from panic to orientation to victimhood, back to panic. The purpose of this first video is to actually help you to get to a place where you feel like a calm survivor. There'll be some work to do, and then after that, when you feel like a calm survivor, episode 2 will help you move up the game and up the ladders. As I said, we're going to use the brain to explain what's going on. Now most of us have seen pictures of the brain, and you can go and look at some others if you want, but I'm going to show you a very, very simple explanation. I want you to think of my arm as your spinal cord. My hand is what we call as doctors the midbrain, but I want you to think of as the automatic brain. And then above that we've got the emotional brain, which we doctors call the limbic system, but we're going to just call it the emotional brain. And around it all we have got the thinking brain, the cerebral cortex. Now a lot of problems with anxiety are that when the emotions aren't stable, they bash the thinking brain, and the thinking brain can't really do very much by itself, which is why it's very difficult to use the thinking brain to calm things down. So we're going to work up the way, and I'd like to start with the automatic brain. Now the automatic brain has got two things which we need to orientate. It's got a body clock and it's got a GPS system. Now the body clock takes in information from daylight and it takes in chemical information. What I mean by that is it takes in changes in your chemicals when you eat and do stuff like that. So what I'd like you to do is every morning when you wake up, try and wake up at the same time. Set an alarm clock. We won't go into your bedtimes at the moment, we won't go into your sleeping, that will settle down of its own accord later. What I want you to do is make sure whatever's happening you get up at the same time of day. Take your meals at the same time of day as well, because your body clock needs to know where it's up to. That will help to calm down your midbrain. Now the GPS system in your brain takes in mainly visual information. It takes some sound information in as well, but mainly visual information. So when you get up in the morning, first thing I want you to do is open the curtains and look out, just to tell your brain where you are. When you go somewhere, try and go by one route and come back by another. Because if you take different information in, you're letting your brain know what's around it, and your brain will feel happier and calmer if it's got information, GPS information. Let it know where it's at. Once we've got that settled down, now it's time to look at what's going on. And that really is about memory. Now I'd like to explain the memory to you. We've got two parts to a memory. We've got one part that's kept in the outer cortex, the thinking brain. That's the processed memory. And then we've got another part of memory that's unprocessed. Let me explain. Process memory is memories that we've put away and we've filed. So it takes a little while to get them back together again. Think about what you bought Auntie Mary for Christmas 3 years ago, and you've got to go to the Auntie Mary bit, you've got to go to the Christmas bit, the present bit, and you've also got to go to the 3 years ago bit. And it's going to take a minute just to get that information all gathered together. Now, as well as that, we have unprocessed memories. Those are the memories that were just too big and too difficult to actually deal with. And we keep those in our emotional memory. Now they're connected straight to our amygdala, which is our fear centre. So if we trigger that memory, we don't just get a little bit, we get the whole lot. Everything comes flooding out, and it triggers that fear centre. We don't just get the one memory, we tend to get every memory that's in that emergency memory of the emotion. So what we've got to do is we've got to clear some space there by processing memory. Now there are various methods for doing that, but it can be quite difficult. What I'd like to do now is explain another part about our memory which is, I find, quite fascinating. And that is, we know this from studies that have been done on the brain, that the left side of our memory is where we keep what we call our autobiographical memory. That's my memories about me. And on the right side of our brain, we keep our semantic memories. That's my memories about us and them. Now, that's really interesting from the point of view of talking about things. Many people know that if they talk about bad memories, they feel worse. Well, the reason for that is probably that we speak with the left-hand side of our brain. We know that from observations of people who've had strokes and also from functional studies of the brain. So it's not a good idea to go talking about the bad stuff. So what are we going to do to process it? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to sneak up on it. We use the right-hand side of our brain for arty type things like drawing pictures, and writing draws little pictures of letters. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a writing method, not typing, writing. This isn't about writing big long stories, this is about filing. It's about allowing our memories simply to be reprocessed. Your brain already knows what's in there, so you don't need to tell it a new story. So we're going to use really small pieces of paper to do this. And what I usually do is take a normal size A4 piece of paper, simply fold it again, and then fold it a third time, to make small pieces of paper. Then what I'm going to do is simply take a pair of scissors and cut the various creases. Very straightforward to do. And we've turned our big piece of paper into little library cards. Now, as I say, your brain already knows what's in there. So what I'd like you to do is simply label the bad stuff. Put a little label for each memory in the top left-hand corner. Now, the only person who's going to read this is you. It's for your brain, so you don't need to write a story. You already know what's in there. So put a label, and it doesn't matter what it is. You can call it marmalade, you can call it donkey, you can call it elephant, you can call it what you like, because it doesn't really matter how you label it. Once you've got a series of labels of different bad memories, for each one, I'd simply like you to write down when it happened, where it happened, and who was involved at the corners of the page. That will allow your brain to process that memory back into the cortical, calmed down memory. That then will give you clarity. Your brain will now have more clarity about what's happened. So what we've got to do now is avoid going down the way again. Avoid feeling like a victim again. And the way we're going to do that is, again, we're going to use some writing therapy, but in a different way. Our emotional memories aren't just connected to the bad place, the fear centre. At the other end of the emotional memory is the joy centre. So if we write about good things that have happened to us and them, good things in the world, that will allow us to feel something a little better. What I want you to do is very, very simple. Every morning when you're waking up, write on a piece of paper 3 things in general that you're grateful for. The only difficulty is going to be that you're not allowed to write down anything you've written before. So there's your homework, the little pieces of paper to file the bad stuff and write the good stuff. So what I'd like to say now is thank you for watching. And there we are. That's the model. That's life's game of snakes and ladders. And we're going to go up there. On this occasion, I'm hoping we'll be at Calm Survivor stage when you've finished. And then you can come back and watch the second video, and I'll show you how you can actually use your brain again to get up to the stage of feeling like someone who's cared for and is integrated with their family. Thank you for watching.